Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. And boy, oh boy, we have a fun show for you today. Obviously, we'll recap the weekend that was in the SJHL. We're going to be joined by SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre. And because it is the season of giving, we are going to give out some Christmas presents today. But before we do all that, we have to give a big thank you to all of our great sponsors here with the SJHL. Big thank you to UPL, our presenting sponsor for SJHL Weekly and SJHL Insider, and all of our great SJHL programming. And also a big thank you to all of our other friends, Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, SAS Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, SAS Energy, SGEU, SGI. Thanks so much for your support, because without your support, these shows would not be possible. Let's bring in our co-hosts, Jeromy Neugebauer, Rory McGouran. Fellas, how was your weekend, Rory?
Yeah, very exciting. Just the one game on the docket for myself. But then, of course, afterwards on Sunday, the trades start filing in, which is an exciting time around the league.
It was hot.
And, great show. I love this segment. We've done it for the past, 2 or 3 years with me and Nugsy. We did it last year as us three, giving out Christmas presents to all the 12 teams. And, of course, the Mish back on the show to recap the first half of the season. So I'm excited.
There you go. Lots of teasers from Rory. Very good. Good. Had a great time. Have to quickly shout out the Mandy Schwartz Invitational down in Wilcox, the best U18 girls tournament in Western Canada, in honor, of course, of the rest in peace older sister of Jaden Schwartz. Of course, a great Notre Dame family overall, and a great tournament. The Red Deer Chiefs pulling out the win, and very, very great tournament all the way around. Great attendance down in Wilcox, so that was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Busy weekend for Nugsy, too. Congratulations on doing a couple games for the Western League as well this weekend. All right, let's get to our weekend recap. Let's start with Friday. A very quiet Friday in the SJHL for Friday night standards. Only 3 games on the docket. The Estevan Bruins doubling up Nipawin 4-2. Flin Flon with a 5-1 win over Weyburn, and Melfort getting by Kindersley by a mark of 2-1. Then a busier Saturday, 5 games on the schedule. Humboldt's knocking off Melville 5-3. Estevan coming back to beat the Nipawin Hawks 4-3 in a shootout. Melfort hanging on for a 4-3 victory over Yorkton. Flin Flon 6-2 over Weyburn. And Larange 3-2 over Kindersley. And of course, all of our look backs are presented by our good friends at Sask Lotteries. Guys, let's start with the Melfort Mustangs, a team that has very quietly won 5 games in a row. They made a big move yesterday, which we'll get to in a little bit. But they continue to find different ways to win, and now they've quietly won 5 games in a row, and now they're second place in the SJHL standings.
Yeah, most games played 31, but they're in that pack, the top 4, which separates 5 by 11 points, and Melfort is right there, 8-2 actually, in their past 10 games, which, is what we expected from them. That's what they got from the beginning. Of course, we had a little bit of that Melfort inconsistency, win one. And it seems that they have a patch of that every year. Most teams do. But now 5 wins in a row, and this past weekend, 1 goal wins both nights. So, finding ways to win close games, finding wins to always win at home, where they're one of the most difficult teams to beat in the Northern Lights Palace. And they're doing this 8-2 stretch with some injuries, right? Like Duguay out, Freetmore missed a game or 2, Summers missed a game or 2. Guys are stepping up. You mentioned Logan Belton last week. And the Melfort Mustangs now acquiring Clay Sleva. And we won't talk about that too much right now, because we do have our trade segment coming up to wrap up Nugs and Notes and at the final end of this segment. But Sleva is going to be huge for them. They had to give up a big price. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But getting a captain of the Yorkton Terriers, a 3-year SJHL vet, one of the fastest players in the league. I love the move by Trevor Blevins. It seems that he does it every year, though, doesn't it? They will load up with one of the biggest fish in the free agent market, or on the trade market, I should say. Nolan Dole the 1 year, Clay Sleva this year. They seem to do it. And I love the Melfort Mustangs right now.
You're funny, Rory.
About what?
You're like, we're going to talk about trades later, and then he wasn't talking about the trade for a while.
Well, we're going to break down what
it's fine. We'll talk about it. You're right. I'm just beaking you. It's fun. Look, the game on Friday at the Palace, Kindersley went in there, and not too many teams kind of take it to Melfort a little bit at the Palace. The Clippers played a great hockey game. They outshot them. They outchanced them. Cody Jamin and James Venn put in a great goaltending performance at both ends. But one of the big differences between the 5 games that they've won and the bunch of games before that is that they didn't have Zach Summers. And you talked about the injury.
Yeah.
But when you lose your top line center, makes a big difference when you have him, especially a University of Maine commit, World Junior A Challenge experienced guy like Zach Summers. He makes a huge difference. He was terrific, all 5 games over this little win streak. And, the Yorkton Terriers on the flip side didn't quit. They were down big, kept rallying, and almost came all the way back against the Melfort Mustangs in Yorkton too. So, great starts for Melfort. They're +7 in first periods overall. They're 7-2 in first periods. They had 7 goals, 4-2 against in first periods in December so far. So starts have been good. Ends haven't been as good. They've been hanging on for a little bit for dear life, but the offense is coming. And a nice goal there by Anthony Demina, by the way, for the Yorkton Terriers. Whenever he gets going, he's a good player, big boy, can really fly and can score as well. So, it was 2 games that were well goaltended. Ethan Farrow was really good too for Yorkton and Ned at home. There. So nice to see some good goaltending happening. Ven and Jamin were great in the Kindersley game, and that was won late by Zach Summers' winning goal, which was a nice goal too. And Melfort just finding ways to win hockey games here 5 in a row. Yeah,
and Summers had the game-winning goal against Estevan on Wednesday as well. And just quickly, tough weekend for the Kindersley Clippers. Obviously 2 games on the road, but 2 1-goal losses and games that you felt like you played well, but unfortunately for the Clippers, they couldn't get a point.
They're just there against everyone, right?
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing, obviously.
No, and that's going to be kind of them, I believe, for the rest of the season, which is why I find they're one of the most interesting teams going the rest of the 30 games this year. But 1-goal loss to Melfort, 1-goal loss to Larange. That's one team that's trying to prove they belong in the top, and one team that's trying to get back into the playoff race. And, going into Larange is never easy to win.
No.
Taking on Melfort's never easy to win. But I think, again, confidence can be built out of losses, and those 2 losses, Kindersley can still find a way to find some positives out of it.
Yeah, Clayton Jardine, we've said it before, we'll say it again, doing a great job with that group of kids. They got a group of hungry kids. They got a good core of veteran guys that have been around for some tough times in Kindersley, are sick of losing, are sick of being an irrelevant franchise in this league, and they're relevant. You said it. They're fun to watch. They're fun to talk about for us.
Yeah.
That line, Ingram, Linklater, Hilbig, it's incredible. They have incredible chemistry, too. They just stick together. The other ones move around, but those 3 stay together, getting some contributions from elsewhere. So you're right. That's a great point, Rory. Confidence can continue to be built. Positives can be taken, even though it wasn't a successful weekend for the Clippers in terms of the standings.
Yeah, while they didn't get any points out of Larange over the weekend, they did get something else, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's move on to talk about the 2 games between the 2 teams that don the black and gold, Estevan and Nipawin. 2 tight games that Estevan comes out, 2 big road victories, and all of a sudden, after those 2 wins, they climb up the standings, going from 9th and moving up a couple of spots into 6th. A good weekend for Estevan.
Yeah, you know what? I was impressed that they trailed in both games again, which they seem to have been doing as of late, but they're not going away. Nope. They've come back in the last 3 out of their last 5 games where they found victories. 42 shots in game 1, trailed 2-1, scored the final 3 goals. 47 shots in game 2, trailed 3-1, scored the final 2 and won in a shootout. Against the Nipawin Hawks, which is not easy to do. And the thing, when you look at them, though, they've trailed heading into the 3rd period in 16 of 27 games. So finding the ability to come back in these games is ultra important for a team that is displaying that this is happening more often than not. It's the 2nd highest percentage in the league, just behind the Notre Dame Hounds in terms of trailing going into the 3rd period. I do like them acquiring Cade Kennedy to poke at Nugsy again and talk about a trade, but we're going to talk about it later. And also Jules Delapoulet, I believe is the pronunciation of the last name, a defenseman. But so they bolster a forward, a defenseman. They find ways to come back. But again, it's a little bit of a glaring need to just find a little bit better starts through the first 40 minutes when you're trailing in 16 of 27 games going into the 3rd, because not a good recipe for success, although recently they found success coming back.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's not a recipe for success. Jason Tatarnic and his staff don't want that to be the case. And, I do have to mention Jason Tatarnic left this game, and Drew Kosher came in and got his first career head coaching win as well. So congratulations to Drew Kosher, great dude as well. In game 1, the Estevan Bruins came into the cage and outplayed them pretty big, 42-27. Even though they were behind on the scoreboard, as you said, in both games they played really well in that first game. The Hawks were maybe the better team overall in the second game, but they're really good at rallying. They get behind, but also they're 9-3, 0-2 in 1-goal games. And Flin Flon is 7-1-2. Obviously, Flin Flon's going to have a good record in any way you crumble the cookie. But everybody else in the league is around 500 in 1-goal games. Yep. So Estevan is right there at the top when it comes to tight hockey games. That sometimes they can let things get away from them, but they're really good in 1-goal games. They pumped 89 shots though in the 2 games on Nolan Cunningham in Nipawin, which again is pretty impressive to do in a road team. As a road team, they got 3 goals from Owen Barrow in the 2 games. So, yeah, Estevan's got to be happy every time. As I said, every time we think Estevan's on a downward spiral and it's getting out of control, and the bottom's falling out, they come away with a couple big wins and they're right back, and we're expecting big things again for the Estevan Bruins, who, by the way, are in 6th place in the league, so they're in good spot.
They're in 6th place, and when we talk about the Nipawin Hawks now, who are 1 spot ahead of them in 5th place, I wonder if we can get the standings.
Let's pull it up.
Put up.
Yep, we'll pull up the standings
because
graphic.
this has to be the most uncomfortable 5th spot I've seen in a few years. Look at the teams that are on the heels, and look at the amount of games the Nipawin Hawks have played, right? I've always been impressed with them when they go out and play. Their power play since acquiring Liam McInnes is 35%. Nugsy said that last week. Like, if this power play isn't clicking at 35 to 40, you'd be shocked. And it is 35.3%. 6 of their last 17 power plays since getting Liam McInnes. But that is just a scary 5th place for the Nipawin Hawks. You don't want to look behind you, but it's hard not to when you see Estevan, Kindersley, and Melville all with games in hand and all within 4 points. You can't count out Weyburn, LaRange, even the other 2 teams. It's still half the season left, but that's a scary 5th place right now for the Nipawin Hawks. So, don't lose your focus. I know they're still working things in. Liam McInnes has only played 3 games, so that's a heck of a playoff race right there, and a scary 5th spot. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, a lot of scoreboard watching for the Nipawin Hawks. But speaking of the Nipawin Hawks, that is where we're going to find our Tourism Saskatchewan highlights of the weekend. Have a look.
Back down low, Raboveski goes after it, centering feed, deflected away from Visser. And then a great hit at the blue line by Landon Pappas, but he's caught. Barrow, he's robbed by Damon Cunningham as the Hawks netminder flashes the leather and keeps it out. And Landon Pappas stepped up and a big hit at the blue line.
And that's just a good, clean, open ice hit. What I was going to say was, despite 2 losses for the Hawks over the weekend, they get the win over Weyburn earlier on in the week. They still get 3 out of a possible 6 points, but coming back now, those games in hand for those other teams, like you said, Rory, it's going to be a difficult spot. But what do you guys think of the Hawks right now? Because they played 30 games, exactly 500. They've been up and down all season. What do you think's going on in
that play? Does that not just epitomize kind of the season? Amazing hit, and we've seen some amazing things from the Hawks. But Biondo puts himself completely out of position by stepping up there.
That's very true.
It's a 2-on-1 back the other way, and it could have been a goal without Cunningham. And so it's a great play, and then it's kind of what happens in the aftermath of doing things.
Very good point.
It's interesting. I was thinking more about the Liam McInnes trade, and Liam McInnes is. I don't know how a better player will get traded within the league. He's such an impact player, especially offensively. But if I were to think, what does a Nipawin need? It's not necessarily Liam McInnes. Obviously, it's nice to add an impact guy like that, but a steadier kind of presence on the back end. So maybe Tad Kozin isn't done adding there, and obviously we also have to remember that their actual number 1 defenseman, Ronan Buckberger, is away at the World Junior A Challenge, which I'll talk about coming up in News and Notes as well, more specifically about it. But they're missing Ronan, and again, that's big minutes. That's not on your lineup. That always makes an impact too. And they live by the sword, died by the sword, the Nipawin Hawks. It's front foot, it's 100 miles an hour, it's offense, and we'll win 7-5 or we'll lose 7-5, and that's the way that Tad Kozin has wanted to play since he stepped on the bench. In Nipawin, it's entertaining. I'm sure the people in Nipawin are enjoying it. We'll see what it all looks like when it comes playoff time. But, they have enough weapons to get there. It's whether they can lock it down when they need to.
Yeah, we'll see how I'm curious to see how their lineup looks once Ronan gets back. And once Ronan and Liam McInnes are together on that blue line, it should be interesting. All right, let's quickly move on. Weyburn and Flin Flon, 2 more solid performances by the Flin Flon Bombers. Ho-hum, they continue to roll for the Flin Flon Bombers, Nugsy. Another pair of good victories at home.
Do you got Christmas socks on right now?
I've got lumberjacks.
Oh, lumberjacks.
Very nice.
Close.
Love the slippers too.
But I tried to be festive with the slippers. There
me
you go.
too. Me too.
Well, there you go. I try to match your style as best I can, which is impossible, but as best I can. Yeah, look, the Flin Flon Bombers, business as usual.
Yeah.
The score sheet said they pumped 69 shots on Angelo Zoll in his first Weyburn Red Wings game. Welcome to the SJ. Here's 70 shots in regulation. The Weyburn Red Wings feel like that there wasn't 70 shots, but whatever, it is what it is. You know how the Whitney Forum is. It can feel like 70 even if it isn't 70. But yeah, Noah Houle, sometimes you see a kid get committed and they take a step back and they take a breather and they have a little bit of relief, but not Noah Houle. 20 points in 13 games since committing to Lindenwood, 6 in his last 3 games. He's a man on a mission. This whole Flin Flon team, it feels like, has been on a mission. It's one thing to have a nasty roster, an incredible roster, which they do. Number 1 team in Canada for a reason. But it's another thing to keep the pedal to the metal. And they're constantly keeping the pedal to the metal. We talked about, quote unquote, did they get bored a little bit a couple of weeks ago, and they still had 5 of 6 points. But back at the Whitney, how can you get bored, right? Like, they're a monster at the worst of times and unbeatable at the best. So yeah, another big weekend for Flin Flon, and they keep on rolling.
Yeah, so we're doing the Christmas gifts in the final part of the show, right? And I have the Flin Flon Bombers and the Weyburn Red Wings, and all of my points that I wanted to say about this matchup and about these two teams will spoil the final segment. So I'm going to save my points about these two teams for the last segment.
Then I'll just quickly add a point. I'll talk a little bit about Weyburn then, because obviously that was a really difficult road trip for them. Outscored 17-4 between the game in Nipawin and the 2 games in Flin Flon. And they were coming off that stretch where they had about 10 or 11 days off as well. So unfortunate for the Wings, but they do get at least they get a home game this coming weekend after they take on Humboldt on Friday.
And one of the hottest guys in the league lately, Cade Mickeljohn, not in the lineup either. So that's another thing you had to deal with going up there without one of your best goal scorers too. So there you go.
Plus, the fans in Flin Flon got back to me and said that we talked about Flin Flon enough last show.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
They're happy now.
Are we okay?
I'll save it for the final segment.
Okay, all right. We just want to make sure.
We love that people are watching.
Yeah, we love everybody that watches. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the recap. Let's talk a little bit about Humboldt, Melville, Larange. Rory, who you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I watched the Humboldt-Melville game. I was really impressed with the Millionaires. They outchanced, outshot. They lulled the Broncos into the depths of that style and almost came back a few times.
Right.
Melville had an expected goals for of 5.22 to the Broncos 2.85. That was the most the Broncos have allowed in any game this season. Not to Flin Flon, not to Battleford. It's Melville, 5.22. Yeah. It's crazy. They're the only team to beat the top 4 teams in the league.
That's incredible.
I was impressed with, just the way they play. Is it a little bit slower? Is it a little bit more getting the team that they're going up against to get in the mud with them a bit? Kind of, but it works. And you know what? I've never seen Humboldt look so slow and that's just an attribute to how Melville plays, right? And they kind of make you uncomfortable. And I loved it because it's a style that works. They beat Humboldt in the showcase. They almost came back 3 times in this one, but the Broncos did find a way just to keep finding that insurance goal. You see Spencer Bell early, 32 seconds in, got the Teddy Bears down on the ice. 20 points in his last 10 games for Spencer Bell. He's been unbelievable. Ben Costantino was great with 2 goals. He's now at quietly a point per game, 22 points in 22 games. Motu is back on track with the final 10 minutes, really holding the Broncos into that game. So I think Humboldt found a way just to keep that cushion, but Melville was pushing, and that's just the style that I love to see. And then last final point is a congratulations to Carter Hansen, who also joined Drew Kosher of picking up his first career win as a head coach, as he's in the interim basis while Scott Barney is at the World Junior A Challenge. So really impressed with Melville. Impressed with Humboldt just to keep that separation and, get through a tough 60 minutes from what I saw.
For sure.
And it was a good game. But, yeah, I don't want to play Melville if I'm any team. They have a system that is frustrating to go against.
For sure. Nugsy, do you want to comment on Larange this weekend?
Yeah,
Or week, I should say.
Topher Chirico has figured something out, folks. 53 saves.
Or at least get him an ice bath for how busy he was.
Ice bath, and look. Again, Kindersley plays good hockey. They're finding ways to win. They're exciting for good reasons and for not good reasons. And the Larange Ice Wolves found a way to beat them in a game that could have gone either way. Rain Hodge started the year like a house on fire. He had a lull in the middle, but he's back again. What an explosive player. He is part of Team Neugebauer in the fantasy pool, if you guys remember that we're doing this fantasy league. But you know what? The Laurent Ice Wolves, I think they have a deeper soul than we've given them credit to a lot this year. And, again, they're always under Kevin Kaminski, a slow starting team, and they turn it on and they get into the playoffs. And it's not fun to play against them once the playoffs start. So I expect a very similar year. I'm not predicting per se that L'Orange will get into the playoffs, but I'm just saying it's not going to be a comfortable visit to the Mel Hagland Uniplex the rest of the season as they make some moves, they make some decisions that maybe are harder or easier, but and they also, a lot of their team is 04s and younger, still. So there's still the future there for L'Orange too. This must have been a good feeling win for Kevin Kaminski and the Ice Wolves to pull one out, a tight one. They've been on the wrong end of a lot of tight ones this year, have the L'Orange Ice Wolves. So to win a tight one against a team that's good at winning tight ones must have been a good feeling up in L'Orange.
Yeah, we can also see how tough it's going to be to get back into the playoff line, right? Yes. They only lost to Flin Flon 1-0. Great game, right? You mentioned Topher Churko. Before that, they beat Yorkton 6-4. After that, they beat Kindersley 3-2. So it's been their best week in some time. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, though. They were 5 points out of a playoff spot. They're still 5 points out of a playoff spot. Yeah, it's just going to be tough. They're not out, 100% not out, but they're going to need a lot of good weeks.
Well, to conclude on the recap, I'll add this. They play Flin Flon home and home to wrap up December, but you look at L'Orange's January, and it's against a lot of teams that are just ahead of them in the standings. If they want to get back in the playoff race, they're going to have a big month of January. They have 3 games against Nipawin, 2 games against Estevan, Notre Dame, Weyburn, teams all around them.
So but a lot of them on the road. So
true.
Too. So it's
Very
not
true.
easy that way either. But.
Absolutely. All right, that will do it for our recap. And as a result, we'll now move on to Jamie Neugebauer's favorite segment.
Yeah.
Nugs and
It
Notes.
is my favorite segment.
Well, I would hope so.
It's Miriam and Abigail's favorite segment too. And
it's the new.
They kind of skip to this one and then skip everything else. So
okay.
There you go. I'm just kidding. Okay, so instead of a traditional sponsor this week, since it's Christmas and we're so grateful to everybody, I'm going to talk about IKS Media, who obviously were in their studio.
They're going to say Santa Claus was the sponsor.
Sorry?
I thought you were going to say Santa Claus was the sponsor.
Claus, yeah.
Some facts
well,
about
Paul Drouin
is.
Are we sure that Paul Drouin is not Santa Claus? Do we know that for a fact? But anyways, IKS Media started in 2001. Video production, 3D animation, digital boards, live events, concert production, whatever you need. Their website says something along the lines of "Don't ask us, what we do. Ask us what we can't do." Something like that. They'll do anything. Their first client was McDonald's. It turns out. We work with IKS Media closely. Producer Clark. Ryan, Bryce, Jordan, Paul, all the ladies at the front, like Jeromy, obviously you are around here all the time working with IKS people. So we love working with IKS. We're so grateful to every single one of you. Obviously, producer Clark, all the hard work he does for us all the time on Insider, and kind of the list goes on. Could talk about IKS for a long time, but we're so grateful for your space. We're so grateful for everybody, and for Paul for having us in here and working with the SJHL and taking a step forward and owning it and being passionate about it. So thank you to IKS Media. I was real honored and blessed to work again with IKS Media this summer at the Para Hockey World Championships in Moose Jaw. That was awesome. Rory and I and Jeromy all worked with them at the showcase. They did a great job producing it there. They got score clocks coming up everywhere. So thank you to IKS Media. We love you, and we're really grateful that you're on board with the SJHL. And I know Kyle McIntyre is as well, the commissioner. All right. Canada West lost 4-2 to Sweden at the World Junior A Challenge yesterday in Truro, Nova Scotia. Battle of Canada, Canada West, Canada East tonight. I talked to Scott Barney a little bit today about that game against the Swedes. He said they dominated, just couldn't score. They outshot them 36-16, he said, the Swedes. Carl Axelsson was terrific in net for the Swedes. He was on their Holinka Gretzky roster for Sweden last year, so that talks about the caliber of goaltender he is. And so he kind of stoned them. Van Blaricom is on a big line with Blackfald star Alex Dimitriadis and Okotoks star Sam Huck. So, clearly Scott Barney obviously has a lot of belief and faith in Matthew Van Blaricom, and he's putting his money where his mouth is, putting him in that spot. And Ronan Buckberger getting opportunities as well, power play and different situations. There you go. 4 games in total in the group stage, so no reason to panic for losing that first game. It's still some time, but got to get going tonight against Canada East. Always want to beat those Easterners, I'm sure. Canada East did beat Slovakia in their first game 7-2 yesterday. They were 4 for 3 on the power play. You don't see that too often. They scored 2 goals on a major power, or 3 goals on a major power play, actually. So 3 of them on one boarding major in the second period to beat the Slovaks. The USA is still the big favorites in the tournament. I'm sorry to upset anybody. All right. We get to Rory's favorite part here, the trades.
One second. Just going back.
Yeah.
Well, who do you cheer for, honestly? Do you cheer Canada West
or
Canada
good
East?
question.
You are an Ontario guy.
I cheer for Canada West for sure. Yeah. I want the SJ to come out as good as possible. Like I asked Scott Barney how the SJ guys did. He said they were solid. They didn't look out of place, and that's what I wanted to hear. So I cheer for Canada West, and then I cheer for kids that I know or have connections to on Canada East. But Canada West, I talked about Dimitriadis, for example. His cousin Darius played for teams that I worked on in Ontario, and he's a Richmond Hill, Ontario boy. And Scott Barney's a Greater Toronto area guy, and he's the coach of Canada West too. So I cheer for people more than anything, I guess, is what I'll say. But I do cheer for Canada West. Great question though, Roy. Trade freeze started yesterday, which is why there was a bunch of trades. Don't want trading kids over Christmas. Don't want them to have to worry about that, which I think is a great thing. And that goes until January the 1st. So just to run down a few trades that caught my eye, and then you guys we'll jump in there. But obviously the big one was Clay Sliva, 22 points in 28 games, the longtime captain of the Yorkton Terriers. The Yorkton Terriers going to Melfort for David Coyle. Yorkton Maulers boy Cale Johns, he's a Lumsden boy, but he plays for the Yorkton Maulers, and Thomas Reese, who plays for the Estevan Bears, but he's a Humboldt guy, and a pick. And so I talked to Trevor Blevins this morning about the trade, and he said, ever since Yorkton upset Melfort in the playoffs when Sliva was a rookie, he's really had his eye on him, to be honest. So he's been trying to get Sliva out of Yorkton for years, and so again, big talent. So we'll talk about that. Yorkton sent Cade Kennedy to Estevan for the rights to Carter Darwinski, who's a Kenora boy, so local to Yorkton, pretty local, who's on the Lethbridge Hurricanes right now in the Western League, and a PDF. Hudson Norris moved from Melfort to Melville, 20-year-old forward who was in the AJ last year. Cale Taylor, you mentioned it, Jeremy, moved from Larange to Kindersley, 20-year-old forward who's a big-time pest. He scores, chips in offensively, but a big-time pest, Cale Taylor. Bronson Babiak went from Larange to Cam River. Quinn Miles went from Humboldt to Sioux in the Northern Ontario Junior League, the Ontario side, which is a great organization. And a lot of people went nuts when the news came out about Holden Dole, who's at Ferris State University, his rights being acquired back by Battlefords from Blackfalds in the AJ. But I talked to Holden today, and he said he doesn't have plans of coming back to the SJ anytime soon. So, and he was okay with me saying that on the show. So, I guess I'd be in big trouble if he didn't. But anyways, my point is he doesn't have immediate plans to come back to the SJ.
Or he's just telling you.
Well, that's
he knows
what he's telling me.
So you can just say
or maybe
he's
planting that. I don't know.
And then there's going to be like a Royal Rumble re-entrance of Holden Dole.
Oh my God! Yeah. Jeremy's great with the wrestling broadcast calls there. So, anyways, Holden Dole is not immediately coming back. It was just a deal because of him not coming back to Blackfalds, kind of get the money back there. So don't worry about that. But Clay Sliva to Melfort boys, that is a big deal.
It's a huge deal, and Melfort wants that big fish, right? I believe that they should. They think they're right there. They've beaten Flin Flon in overtime, right? They've beaten Humboldt. They know they're in the top 4. They know that they can compete throughout a 7-game series. Okay, what can we do to make sure that we are that step above and step ready? Well, Clay Sliva, one of the fastest players, one of the most veteran experienced players, going to get a chance to play with the guys like Zach Summers, Ryan Duguay when he's back. Great for Sliva. It is a hefty price, though.
Oh, yeah.
I loved what Emery Olafson did out of Yorkton because he didn't only get back David Coyle, who I think had to be really difficult for Trevor Blevins to give up. Guy's got like 19 points in his last 11 games. So he's been absolutely on fire, filling in for the injured players and really stepping up. He's a 19-year-old. He's got another year of experience. And then, no, he doesn't just get that. He gets two really young defensemen in Thomas Reese and in Cale Johns, the 21st overall pick in the draft in 2022. So a really highly touted defenseman. Thomas Reese leads his team, the Estevan Bears, in defensive scoring, nearly a point per game. And then, you get a pick out of it too, which could be anything. It's a big price, but that's what you got to pay for a captain, a guy like Clay Sleva. I think both teams won. You don't often say that. I think both teams won. I love it what it does for Yorkton coming up in the future. I love it what it does for Melfort this year.
Yeah, so Melfort's got Zach Summers and Clay Sleva as their 1 and 2 centermen now, which is super nice. Whatever way you want to jumble it up, and maybe they'll mix it together. But those are two premium centermen, and then got to give David Coyle a lot of credit for building himself into a player that can be the centerpiece of a trade like this. He was not sent away, but he was sent. He went to the KI last year after starting the year with Melfort, and we've talked about it. But he's built himself up to this piece, and I didn't talk to Trevor Blevins, as I said. He said you got to give something up to get a Clay Sleva. He had to give up David Coyle to get us Clay Sleva. So, pretty impressive stuff. Jeromy, do you want to add to that, or do you want to talk about one of the other trades?
Please go ahead to the other trades.
Yeah, so Rory, you were talking about your interest there in Cade Kennedy. That's an interesting piece, kind of straight line guy, north-south.
Yeah.
Physical guy, too. He'll be an interesting ad to Estevan, too.
I do. I loved Cade Kennedy last year for the Yorkton Terriers. Again, that trade, when it was posted, it said future considerations. Is that the rights to the player you're mentioning? Or do you maybe think that this is a rent for this year and Yorkton gets Cade Kennedy back next year? Which, again, smart for Yorkton, right? Get him back as a 20-year-old if that's what Estevan wants. They want a rental forward, a guy with speed, a guy with offensive ability. Again, I like it for Estevan as they need to kind of, find a little bit, not more offense, but, haven't been great in the first two periods like we talked about in the first segment. But Cade Kennedy's going to be good. He can slot, I think, in your top six. He can also slot in your bottom six. Well, a lot of versatility with that guy. And if Yorkton does get him back next year, then, another, I think, huge swing and a hit for Emery Olofsson to kind of grab the PDF, grab a rights to another player who may come next year, and then get Cade Kennedy back.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know. That's speculation.
My gut tells me that Emery Olofsson would love to have Carter Derwinski come in at some point, coming back from the Western Hockey League.
Yes.
Again, local boy, big impact player. That seems like a slam dunk. There's a PDF involved, so as well. So as I said, can't trade anymore. They'll be talking. They'll be making trades. The trade deadline is quick after the trade freeze is thawed on New Year's Day. It's January the 10th is the next trade deadline. So it should be interesting. Hudson Norris, as I said, 20-year-old looking for that opportunity. It'd be interesting. Melville just added Joel Mabin as well from Nipawin. So interesting to get a little bit more experience around Luke Beadall and Jared Ayogan and a bunch of other pieces up there and younger pieces up in Melville up front. So that's interesting. Cale Taylor, more kind of guts and character there in Kindersley. A little bit more depth, a little more experience up front too. They're getting older and older, Kindersley, especially up front, to go with their kind of younger decor. It's interesting. So anyways, those are kind of the deals that I had for Nugs and Notes.
I never know if parents are watching. I think I made a boo-boo in the first trade. Cale Johns is the 21st overall pick for the Melfort Mustangs who got traded. I think I also said he was leading the Estevan Bears. Thomas Reese.
No,
did I get it right?
I think you got it right.
Thomas Reese is leading the Estevan Bears in defensive scoring. Just shout out to those two young defensemen. If their families are watching or players on Yorkton who want to know who they're getting, I just want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about all the transactions from the last 2 days, go to sjhl.ca. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre, get his thoughts on the season thus far, and much, much more. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
It's the 2023 model clearout at Capital GMC. Drum roll, please. 0% financing is back. For a limited time, finance rates are as low as 0% on select new 2023 GMC Sierras. CapitalGMC.ca.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeremy. Thanks so much for joining us today, wherever you may be tuning in across the SJHL social media platforms. But let's go to the video chat line where we're joined by the SJHL Commissioner, Kyle McIntyre. Kyle, thanks so much for hopping on today. Really appreciate it. How are we doing?
I'm doing just great. I wasn't aware of the format or name change of the show, Jeremy.
What's the format change?
It's become SJHL Weekly has become SJHL Newsy.
Like it.
Good one. Don't give him any ideas.
I'll take it.
Kyle, you know what? Obviously, let's just first and foremost just get your thoughts, I guess, so far on. We're halfway through the SJHL season. Just your thoughts on everything so far.
Well, super hard to believe we're halfway through the season, Jeremy. You know, and again, the SJHL is known for its parity, and certainly we've seen that. We have about 4 teams that are kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack, and then 5 to 10 continues to be a dogfight. I think we've had some very pleasant surprises. I think Melville has been a very pleasant surprise. I think that Doug Johnson and Jordy Woodrick have done an excellent job there. I think North Battleford really has been a heck of a surprise. You get Kean Bell back, and you know, he's 3rd in league scoring. He's played 10 less games, and he's 4 points out, averaging 2.63 goals per game. You look at the goaltending tandems of Kenneth Marquardt and Harmon Laser-Hume, or you look at Moto or Fisher and Humboldt. So we've seen it all this year. We have some great rookies. You know, Connor Tui is off to a great start. Connor Ingram is off to a great start. So the SJHL is super competitive, and we have some great stories happening this year.
Nugsy?
Yeah, for sure. I guess just talk about, you have the jersey up in the back, so it gave me the idea. The SJMJ Showcase not too far in the distant future. You know, how excited are you for that? You've seen the talent we have on display. I know that you're in the process of kind of figuring out who's going to go for the SJ, but how's that all going?
Yeah, so we've started that planning. We start that planning in December, and so coaches, of course, have nominated 10 players from each team. Some of our coaches can't count, but anyways, we're going through a long list right now, and we'll move that down to a short list. At the end of the day, we're going to take the top 60 players, the top 20, 18 and under, and then the top 40, 20 and under. Last year was super competitive, and we had a pile of scouts. In fact, it was a real good benchmark for a lot of the NCAA scouts that were coming right up to Edmonton and watching that event. And last year was super competitive. It was probably some of the fastest hockey I watched all winter. And I know it's going to be another great showcase. And no one is mailing it in during the showcase. It's extremely competitive. There's a huge rivalry between the SJHL and MJHL. And, you know, some of the former players from the SJHL, they have found themselves on some MJHL teams. They have something to prove as well. And so that's a real good event. And usually, you know, a bit of fellowship amongst the coaches. All the coaches come and attend. And then we have a good cross section of players from every single team. And I think it's a real opportunity for our kids to truly showcase their talents.
Just talking about the buildings around the league, you've been to all 12, you know, you've taken in games this year everywhere in the SJHL, and it looks like attendance, you know, has been really great this year. Fans coming out supporting, especially in buildings that, you know, maybe we're struggling. Winning helps, of course. Melville, their attendance is unbelievable. Kindersley's has seen an uptick as well, but just kind of the thoughts on the Saskatchewan people coming out and supporting their teams, because it seems like everything's going up, and in those markets that it was down, obviously winning helps.
Yeah, you know what? The one I'm really pleased about, Rory, and you mentioned it, was Melville. Like, Melville is almost averaging 900 people a game. And so Melville really is a hockey community. There's a real thirst to have a winner in Melville. And certainly, as I mentioned before, Doug and Jordy have really built a really good team, a real competitive team. They're in every game. They never mail it in. And you're always in for a battle when you're playing Melville. And I'm heading to Melville actually tomorrow night. I'm probably picking up Jacob. Not sure if Jeremy's coming or not. They do have the best burgers in the league, as you mentioned last time, Rory. They truly do. And really, it's exciting because Melville's always been it's one of those anchor franchises in the league. And it's great to see that hockey's back and you know what, people are getting a taste of maybe what's to come in some playoff hockey. Kindersley has also had some really, really great crowds. It's tapered off a little bit since the start of the year, but it's nice to see that. Attendance generally is up. About 100 fans per game on average. We still got a few teams that really probably aren't putting as many people in the rink as we'd like to see. And some of that is there's been some cultural changes, some staffing changes. And I think the community needs to get out and see some of these changes on some of these teams. But generally, attendance has been great. And of course, the product is always good. And the thing that I like about the SJHL, it's super affordable for families, and there's lots of opportunities to get to the rink and take your whole family and really make it a family or a multi-generational affair.
Well, you mentioned Kindersley, and that leads me to my next question. And obviously, all of us are going to be in Kindersley on Friday for the return of the SJHL Game of the Month on SaskTel. I just wanted to get, obviously, you know, we did the SJHL final on SaskTel last year. It was a great success. But now to bring back the Game of the Month, just from an SJHL perspective, how excited are you to bring that back to hockey fans across the province?
Well, I'm super excited. SaskTel and the SJHL have had a partnership for about 5 years, and it's an outstanding partnership. They're sponsors in our league. They really work with us to showcase the talent across the league. We're going to be back on SaskTel Max and SaskTel Demand, and they always do a quality job with Bamboo Shoots and with the three of you, of course, delivering those television shows. It's going to be outstanding. And you know what? Although we have 12 communities around the province of Saskatchewan, not every single community has an SJHL franchise. And so for some people that don't live close to SJHL community, this is a great opportunity for them to get a sample of what hockey is all about in the SJHL. And we'll have a great game between Kindersley and North Battleford. Like, it's a divisional rivalry. Both teams are super competitive. Hopefully Kindersley is going to play a full 60 minutes and give Battleford a good run. And Battleford, you know, they got a new goalie, and Hutchison's coming in, and of course Kian Bell has been lighting her up, and so fans across the province can see what this kid is all about too, and it'll be a great match. Like Kindersley has the three brothers, which is unique to the SJHL. I don't think we've ever had three brothers on one team before in SJHL history. The Perlingers are the only 07s that are playing in the province. Logan Linklater is fun to watch. Ingram is fun to watch. Cody Jamin, if he or Logan Falk play, both are entertaining goalies. And so I think it'll be a really good game. And I know the fans in Kindersley will be out. And of course, we have one of the Saskatchewan's finest on the PA announcing and spinning tunes, and that'll be exciting, and it will create a real good atmosphere. So Kindersley's actually going to have a couple pretty good events this week. They got the skip school event against Neugebauer on Wednesday, and then they got the SaskTel game in a month on Friday. So we're really excited about hockey returning to SaskTel in the game in a month. We got some really good games lined up for fans across the province.
against me, that's funny.
Well, it is all
20
about
Clippers
you,
and Nugsy on the
It's
ice.
just me.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just
Hey,
Jamie
take it
Neugebauer.
easy, Lynx. Take it easy. Oh, man. All right. Well, last question from me, Kyle. Really appreciate your time. Always we could talk for hours. All of us could with you, and we have and we will. Again, I love international hockey. I know you do too. The World Junior A Challenge going on. It is terrific, and I'm so proud, and I'm sure Rory is, Jeromy, that Scott Barney is coaching Canada West, the Humboldt Broncos coach. Ronan and Matthew Van Blericom and Jason Seville as well up there. How proud are you that some of our best just human beings are out there representing the league, wearing the Canada on their chest right now?
Yeah, first and foremost, like Scott he's a great young coach. He's one of the best young coaches in our league. I mean, we have lots of good coaches, but he's a guy that I really got to know here in the last couple of years, and I really enjoy him, and I think he's got a bright future. And Jason, of course, he's probably one of our most dynamic trainers. Yeah. In the SJHL. He's a super flamboyant guy, but the kids really like him, and he's really player centered, and I know he's super professional and do a great job. And then of course we got MVB, who could potentially be the MVP of the SJHL, and he's playing a regular shift. And according to Scott, he played super well yesterday. And Ronan Buckberger, he's gotten a lot of eyes on him. He's a quality young player. He's going to do a great job representing us. And of course, Ty Mason, right. Who spent the better part of his career in Weyburn with the Red Wings. So all three of those guys are excellent kids. They're excellent ambassadors for the league and for their communities. And I hope that they knock off Nugsie's Eastern World Junior team here tonight.
I just got one more question before rapid fire. Of course, last year, you had the Battlefords North Stars looking like the best team in Canada, if not top two. Now you got the Flin Flon Bombers, and they've been ranked number one in Canada for, it's been 2 months now, over that potentially? 7 weeks. So I don't want you to compare the two teams, but just how nice is it to, have another team that, hey, SJHL is going to be a force if Flin Flon gets out of the league. I know they got that target on their back, but, if they get to the national championship, you're looking at a team that has a really good shot to win it.
Yeah, you know what? I thought maybe you're going to ask me what I wanted for Christmas, and probably
I got rapid fire coming up next, so that might be on it.
Okay, I don't want to spoil this, but high on my Christmas wish list is for the SJHL to win the Centennial Cup. And I know right now we have whoever comes out of our league is going to have an excellent opportunity. And I mean, North Balford last year, they were great ambassadors, and I thought they were probably one line and maybe 2 minutes and 43 seconds away from bringing a championship back to the league. But I think Flin Flon's true test will be getting out of our league. I mean, yeah, they have 5 out of 10 of our top 10 scorers are from Flin Flon, and they got a good back end, and they got a goaltender tandem that is probably only rivaled by Humboldt. I mean, certainly they look like they have all the pieces, but I'll tell you what, when I think about them and I think about, Mike is a quality coach, and he and Cole have done an excellent job, and Mike has been the bridesmaid so many years, been knocking on the door. It'd be great to see him win. But I think we got 4 or 5 teams that have something to say about that. And I would be a little bit nervous if I was Mike Reagan heading into playoffs, because, again, talking to Braden and Chile last year, one of the challenges was they didn't feel like they faced enough adversity in the league. And, I mean, they got 1 regular season loss. I mean, so I don't know. I would hate to play Melfort, Humboldt, Battleford, Estevan, Nipawin in playoffs. I would hate to play any one of those teams if I was the Bombers.
You know what? I love it because the parity in the league has shown it is the best part of the league. And yes, Flin Flon is clearly the best team right now, but you look at the other teams, and no one's going to be an easy out, so I do respect the answer. It is time for Rory's Rapid Fire, and it's Christmas-themed. So you already told me what your Christmas wish is, and that's for a Centennial Cup SJHL champion. I know you like to do a lot of cooking back at home. You post a couple of your recipes, your meals on social media. What is on the Christmas menu? And if you had to take your family to a rink, which rink maybe would be a good host for a Christmas menu?
Well, on my menu, you know what will be on my menu? It'll probably be some turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and gravy and cream corn and some probably some broccoli and raisin salad. So that'll be on the menu. But again, if I had to take my family to a rink, there'd probably be two rinks that I would choose. One is Kindersley. Like Kindersley has like a super diverse menu. Like you get pretty much anything you want in Kindersley. Like the last time I was there, I had a cheese smoky on the recommendation of Tarts, and it was outstanding. But there were like chicken fingers and matzo sticks. There were so many things to choose from. But I always like going with the quality menus that I know about. I'm a type of guy that I like things that are familiar, that are known, and I have favorites, right? And so I said to Jacob this morning, I was talking to him, I said, hey, road trip tomorrow to Melville, and no, we're not going to meet Backgammon Benny at the Flamingo for supper.
Why
We're
not?
having burgers. We're having burgers with onions and mushrooms and cheese from the Melville concession because it is the best in the league.
What Christmas movie do you most relate to, or if you had to star in, what movie would that be?
Starring probably Elf, Peter Pan. I've never grown up, right? So kind of like Will Ferrell and Elf.
All right, you are in charge of hosting a Christmas party, and you need one of the league's coaches to dress up as Santa and one of the coaches to dress up as the Grinch. Who are you picking?
Oh boy, good question. You know what? This is a no-win answer. I kind of anticipated if I was doing rapid fire, you were going to ask me this question. So I think Santa Claus is a tie, okay?
A tie.
And it's probably Braden Klamosko or Trevor Blevins. And I think Blevins would be probably the guy that I would choose as Santa Claus. And I probably don't want to say who the Grinch is.
You could go based off height. The Grinch is like 7 feet tall, so that could be the criteria.
There's two guys that I would have in mind, but I know it'll be career-ending for me if I actually say who they are.
That's fair.
That's fair. I didn't expect it to. That's rapid fire.
Hey, I was just before we let you go. Don't bash the Flamingo in Melville. That's not very nice, Kyle.
It's very good.
It is.
You know what?
very
I
good.
did. Clark, who is not on site today, he made a bet last year, and I had to end up paying his bet. And I took Backgammon Benny, who at that time was Melville's most eligible bachelor, to the Flamingo, and we had an unbelievable meal. And of course, every single lady that walked in there talked with Benny, and so certainly a popular figure, not only in the SJHL but in the Flamingo and in Melville.
The Flamingo's a great establishment, to say the least. Kyle, we thank you for your time. We always appreciate it, and great catching up as always. And enjoy the games this week.
Yeah, just before I run, guys, I want to wish each one of you and your families a very Merry Christmas. And I want to wish the volunteers, the billet families, the fans, the players and their families, our coach, our staff, our officials, all a very Merry Christmas on behalf of the SJHL.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Kyle. We'll talk to you soon. That is SJHL
thanks,
Commissioner
guys.
Kyle McIntyre hopping on SJHL Weekly. We always appreciate his time. And after the break, we are going to hand out some awards, but we're also going to hand out some Christmas presents. So stay tuned for that. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA and, respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Have a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
And waterways. Saskatchewan.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Rory, Jamie, and Jeromy. We thank you for joining us for our last show of 2023 for SJHL Weekly. We'll be back in the new year, but it's time to hand out some players of the week. We're going to try and be quick with this because we want to hand out some Christmas presents because it is the season of giving. So let's start with SGEU MVP of the week, Nugsy. And it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's always special. A defenseman winning MVP of the week, Noah Houle, 2 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah, Lyndon Wood commit, dominant. Weyburn Red Wings will be happy to see the back of him. And boy, oh boy, has he been the best defenseman since the puck dropped this year.
Yeah, and it looked like he almost had 3 goals on Friday night, but just the 2. But congratulations, Noah Houle. You are SGEU MVP of the week. Moving on, Bourgault, forward of the week, Rory, straight from the Humboldt Broncos. He had the same amount of points as Noah Houle, but Cage Newens, a goal and 5 assists. Outstanding week for Cage.
Yeah, he's the prototypical captain, heart and soul of the Humboldt Broncos, wants it so much, and you got to lean on your leaders, and he is a big reason why the Broncos have been the best starting team, have just been consistent throughout 60 minutes, and another great week for Cage Newens, but he wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's what the team needs.
And from beautiful Parksville, BC as well. So congratulations to Cage Newens. Bourgault, forward of the week. Moving on, Direct West rookie of the week, Nugsy. You saw him a couple weeks ago, but Christian Coombs of the Melfort Mustangs, he got his first SJHL shutout on Wednesday against the Estevan Bruins, and it looks like after a slow adjustment, he's found his game.
Yeah, forced into some action with an illness to James Venn a couple weeks ago. Stepped in, got some minutes. Looks better for sure than he did to start the year. And Trevor Levin's got to be thrilled from what they got from Coombs against Estevan, and can use him more moving forward with more confidence for sure.
Yeah, and then you can allow more rest for James Venn as well. So congratulations to Christian Coombs, Direct West Rookie of the Week. Now moving on, Super U Defenseman of the Week, and a great first week with his new team, Rory. Liam McInnes of the Nipawin Hawks, a goal and 4 assists. Great first week.
Yeah, 4 points in his first game as a Nipawin Hawk. We mentioned that he helps raise the power play. In an already good power play, it's up to 35.3% since he's joined the team. That is elite. And, you know, it's at home games, it's not that much of a different bar in the Centennial Arena from the Mel Hagman. They're both kind of small. They're both tight confines, so he should fit right at home. And a really big acquisition for the Nipawin Hawks. He had a good start.
Congratulations, Liam McInnes, Super U Defenseman of the Week. Now on to SaskTel Goalie of the Week. Nugsy, we talked about him earlier. What a week it was for Topher Chirico. Faced 88 shots and only allowed 3 goals.
Amazing, yeah. Great athlete. Not the biggest guy, but can make a great save whenever he needs to. Watched a great one in Dawson Smith last year. So we knew he was a good goalie. Just needed to show it this year. And big piece of that win against Kindersley, and only lost 1-0 to Flin Flon. Unbelievable performance by Topher Chirico.
Yeah, made 50-plus stops in that game as well. So congratulations to Topher Chirico, SaskTel Goalie of the Week. And finally, Rory, Saskatchewan Player of the Week, Braxton Buckberger of the Nipawin Hawks, and he just continues to find ways to produce for Nipawin.
Yeah, he's their go-to guy up front that does it all physically, emotionally, fills the back of the net, power play. They picked up 3 out of 6 points. I'm sure they want more because of how scary they are in 5th place with the games played more than everyone trailing them. But he's going to be an engine along with other guys that we mentioned, Liam McInnes, to get them back into the playoffs. But that race is going to be tough, and they're going to need guys that play as hard as Braxton and need another good week.
Absolutely. So congratulations to Braxton Buckberger, Saskatchewan Player of the Week, and congratulations to all the award winners. If you want to learn more, head to sjhl.ca to check out the Players of the Week. All right. We teased it. We're excited for it. Let's hand out some Christmas presents. Some background is each of us got 4 SJHL teams. We are going to give a Christmas present from us to them. And Nugsy, we'll start with Nugsy. We'll go down the line, and we'll just go back and forth like that. How's that sound? All right, so Nugsy, you can pick one of the 4 teams you went with first, whatever team you'd like.
Well, I mean, it's only fitting to go with the defending champs. So I'll go with the Battleford's North Stars first and foremost. And I'm going to go with a vintage VCR with remote control. They are rewinding it to last year. They've been almost unstoppable since they got Kian Bell back. Their decor is flying. They're just playing it back like they did last year. There was a little bit of confusion over whether Holden Dole was coming back. He's not yet, I guess, anyways. But still, they look a lot like the old Battleford North Stars sometimes this year. And could they get back to the Centennial? I don't think it would shock anybody. So a vintage VCR with remote control for Brady Glamosko.
Buy those anymore?
I don't even know. Amazon.
Probably.
You could find
it. Bezos has got it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Rory, you're up.
I'm going to go with Weyburn, and it's actually going to be funny because great minds think alike. We have a similar gift that will be to 2 different teams for 2 different reasons.
Excellent.
So we'll find that coming up. But I'm getting Weyburn a stone and a sling.
Because a stone and a sling?
A stone and a sling. Because if anybody does know the story of David and Goliath, that is how David took down Goliath. The Weyburn Red Wings have been really, really good against any other team that isn't the top 4. They have 1 win in 14 games against the top 4. 13 games, sorry.
Okay.
1 win. That was the 10-5 win against the Battlefords. They have lost to all the other games against Humboldt, Flin Flon, and Melfort. They're 9-3-0-4, points in 13 of 16 games against every other team. So Weyburn gets back in the playoffs, right? They're going to eventually need to take down Goliath.
Right.
And how do you do that? It's with a stone and a sling. That's why I'm getting the Weyburn Red Wings. Fortunately for them, though, in their final 30 games of the season, only 5 of them are against those top 4 teams. 25 are against teams that they have a really good record against. So Weyburn, looking fortunate in that regard, but to go up against those big guys, they're going to need to take down Goliath, and so far they haven't with just 1 win in 13 games.
For sure. That's a really good gift. I like that. I'll start with LaRange. And one thing we have talked about on SJHL Weekly a lot with the L'Orange Ice Wolves has been the play of their defense and the play of their goaltending. It hasn't been the greatest this year. Some might say it's been a little bit leaky. So how do you stop a leak? So my gift to them is 2 cans of Flex Seal and 2 rolls of Flex Tape. If you haven't seen the infomercial, fantastic product. It stops the leak. It's waterproof. And the good news is, apparently I've given that gift a week early because they were excellent this week. And if they want to continue, they're going to have to play like this. So that's going to stop the leakage and improve the L'Orange Ice Wolves moving forward.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the Melville Millionaires and another Viterra division team. And Rory said it. Kind of a similar gift. So, well, not similar in, anyways, you'll see. So I'm going to give them a commemorative, beautiful book of the Book of Psalms from the Bible. So many of those Psalms were written by David, who is the guy who killed Goliath, in recognition of the fact that the Melville Millionaires have been great giant killers this year. In the last 4 games, they've beaten Flin Flon and Battlefords. They're the only team to have beaten Flin Flon twice this year. They're one of 2 teams to beat Flin Flon at the Whitney Forum. They've beaten Melfort twice this year. And all of those wins, they're still 13-12. So they're having a great year, great surprise. But with all those wins, they're only just above 500. So, I think they're at 8th right now. So, they're good against the Giant Killers. Yeah. We'll commemorate that by giving them a nice, beautiful kind of gold inlaid Book of Psalms.
I like that a lot.
I'm going over to the west and going to Kindersley, and I'm getting them it's an expensive gift.
Oh,
yeah, really expensive. It's an IMAX 65mm film camera. So it's the same one that Christopher Nolan.
That was super specific.
Very specific.
Well, yeah, because it's the same one that Christopher Nolan used to film Oppenheimer. Like one of the most beautifully
Tate's
shot
gonna
movies
love
of all time, and especially this year, because I said it last year that I believe the Kindersley Clippers are a movie, and I want them to keep writing their story. I don't know how this movie's going to end. It has me on the edge of my seat, just like Oppenheimer did when I watched that in theaters, and that is the Kindersley Clippers. Kyle McIntyre mentioned it. They got 3 sets of brothers. They got 5 local kids on the team. That. They're the longest playoff drought in the SJHL. Every other team's been in the playoffs more recently than the Kindersley Clippers. So just keep writing your movie, keep filming it on that IMAX 65mm film camera, Christopher Nolan style, and I like that story of the Kindersley Clippers.
Nice. They are a movie, that's for sure. I will move on to the Estevan Bruins, and this one, this gift's a lot more simple compared to my last one. For the Estevan Bruins, speaking with Jason Tatarnic this season, there's been a glaring issue, which I think a lot of teams in the SJHL right now are dealing with and struggling with, and that is consistency. So my gift to the Estevan Bruins is a truck of Okanagan fruit blueberries. Because to quote a Times Magazine article on food and health, blueberries are the top food to increase brain function and improve consistency in one's life. Wow. So to the Estevan Bruins, I gift you one of those fruit trucks that always pops up around Saskatchewan communities in the summer, but filled with blueberries.
You went deep on the,
I did my research.
Men's health.
I did my research. Yep.
Yeah, that's why Jeremy's the best.
Yeah, adequate.
There you go.
Noobsy, you're up.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with a very cheap gift because these guys have spent a lot of money, it seems, already this year. I'm going to go with... Yeah, that's true. And also your camera. Yeah. But Connor Tate would be terrific with that. But anyways, that's not the point. The Nipawin Hawks, you are getting name tags. There is no team in this league that has made bigger impact ads in terms of big name players, explosive guys, I think, over the course of the season proper. Obviously, Flin Flon added a lot of those guys in the offseason. But the Nipawin Hawks give name tags: Alex Bernauer, Artem Krabovetsky, Liam McInnes, Braden Jockums. The list kind of goes on. But the Nipawin Hawks keep on making big ads to film around their core, that they bring back a lot of guys from last year. Dana Dirks and Tad Kozin have done a good job bringing a lot of excitement to the Centennial Arena. And so name tags for the Nipawin Hawks.
Very good.
I'm going to go to Humboldt, and I'm getting them an autographed, used Jake LaMotta heavy bag.
Wow.
So the
I don't even know what that is.
Please explain.
Well, heavy bag, you know what that is. And Jake LaMotta, you know, an old school boxer, but one of the best to go to the body, right? And LaMotta used constant pressure, you know, relentless sort of attacks. That's how Humboldt plays, and that's what makes them successful, is wearing down their opponent. Go to the body, right? When Humboldt has lost, they have led in every game they've lost except for one. They've led by at least a goal. So I think they need to continue to use that constant pressure. They need to continue to go to the body. They need to continue to wear down their opponents. I've liked their game throughout this season. And Jake LaMotta, he lost to Sugar Ray Robinson, often considered the best of all time back in that age, 4 times in a row, and finally beat him in his 5th time. We all know what happened to the Broncos in their last 3 playoff exits. It's the team they're looking up on right now. And if they do meet again, they got to work right now on that heavy bag. Go to the body, Jake LaMotta style, autograph heavy bag for the Broncos.
Wow, that was a deep cut.
Thank you.
That was a good reference. For me, I will move on to the Yorkton Terriers. And this one, I am actually going to tie in one of our great sponsors here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and I am going to gift the Yorkton Terriers a new home security system from SaskTel. As SaskTel, if you're in the market for a home security system, they would be glad to help you out. And the big guys, I'll ask you this: why do you get a home security system?
Protect your stuff.
You got to protect your stuff. You got to protect your house, and protecting the house is very important on the penalty kill. And for the Yorkton Terriers, they are currently last in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League at 70.2% on the penalty kill. So to improve the protection of the house on their penalty kill, I gift to you, Yorkton, a beautiful home security system from SaskTel. And if you are in the market for a home security system ahead of Christmas, SaskTel, they'll help you out.
Love it.
Wow. That was next level.
That's a good pitch, too.
Way to go, Jeremy.
I had to sell that one.
SaskTel should just cut it.
Oh, by the way, SJHL Game of the Month on SaskTel coming up this Friday when you can watch the Kindersley Clippers, Balfour's North Stars with the 3 of us.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. All right, my last one is the Melfort Mustangs, and it's a double-use bottle of blue Gatorade because blue Gatorade is the best Gatorade and the only acceptable Gatorade if you're giving Nugsy Gatorade. So I'm going to go with blue Gatorade for Leith Olafson. Also, the Melfort Mustangs are blue. And he's been playing 25 minutes plus a game all year. He's been terrific. And then once he's done drinking that blue Gatorade bottle, use that bottle to bottle this team defensive effort that the Melfort Mustangs have put in the month of December so far. Trevor Blevins is thrilled with that. Bottle it up and use it the rest of the year. Trevor Blevins feels like when his team plays the way they can compete with anybody and beat anybody, including the Flin Flon Bombers. They've given up 3 goals against or less in their last 4 games. Melfort Mustangs, with the weaponry that they have, they just added Clay Sliva. If you give up 3 goals a game, if you're the Melfort Mustangs, that's good enough. You're going to win a lot of hockey games. So a Gatorade bottle.
Very good.
Another cheap one.
Yeah,
cheap one. Yeah.
Cheap
Whatever,
one.
though. Useful.
Saving money.
Yeah.
In this
how
economy,
much are they going to use the Oppenheimer cam? It can really run.
You got to be technically advanced.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's
I mean,
fair.
they do.
Well,
have
they got Connor.
They have Connor. Yeah, it's a good point. Never mind. I take it back.
I'm going to finish up my 4, and I do have the Flin Flon Bombers. And I am going to channel my inner Deion Sanders and get the entire team sunglasses, custom-made sunglasses, designer brand.
Whoa.
I'm not cheaping out on the Flin Flon Bombers either because it is just so bright right now, right? The future is so bright for the Flin Flon Bombers. Yep. #1 team in Canada, #1 team in the league. I can't say anything bad about them. I've seen them play, and I don't find any holes, right? But the sun helps everything grow. The sun gives us strength, right? We look forward to the sun. I can see them bringing home a national championship, and that is just a bright future to look at. But the thing with the sun, you don't look directly at it. Even with sunglasses on, you got to kind of take a peek and look away. So
absolutely
think of that in your future, but don't stare at the sun because it'll burn you. And I don't want them to look too far ahead because as Kyle said, this league is a hard league to get out of, and that's their goal first. So sunglasses to shade the brightness that is the Flin Flon Bombers. All the team will look sharp in them too, and that's the gift for the Bombers.
And those are nice sunglasses.
Yeah, we have really nice. Yeah.
Those are nice sunglasses. They can pull it off. All right, the final team to get a gift, the Notre Dame Hounds. Nugsy, unlike you, I did not cheap out because I wanted to give the Notre Dame Hounds a very good gift, and I wanted to give yourself a very good gift. And I got them. I went all out. Took a lot of time, a lot of effort to find this gift. Paid a lot of money for it. You might need to clean it though.
Okay.
I purchased the hot tub from Hot Tub Time Machine for the Notre Dame Hounds. Because it would allow the Notre Dame Hounds to go back in time to the beginning of the season. We talked about it. They got off to an 0-9 start. If they could replay those 9 games, and even if they went 4-5, they'd be right there in the mix for a playoff spot. Yeah. So to them, I would get them the used, probably not the cleanest, hot tub from Hot Tub Time Machine. And it can, and you know what? You could place it in the corner at the dunk tank, and you could probably put some people in there. Like how the Brandt Center used to have hot tubs at ice level. Just like that.
Can you provide somebody to add extra cleanliness because diseases just are running rampant down there? But anyways.
Wouldn't be the cleanest.
Wouldn't
be the cleanest. Okay. Well, that was a lot of fun. And we hope you enjoyed that too, as we handed out some Christmas gifts to all 12 SJHL teams. Before we go, let's preview the final week of, well, I guess technically there is a game in between Christmas and the New Year, but our final week before the holiday break. So let's take a look at the games coming up in the SJHL. Let's start with Tuesday. 2 games on the docket, Melfort versus Melville. Should be a great matchup. Melville has actually had Melfort's number a little bit this season. And then the Notre Dame Hounds return to action after, what was it, Newsy? About 10 days off for the Hounds, as they'll be in Battlefords to take on the North Stars and kicks off a 4-game and 5-night stretch for the Hounds. And then move on to Wednesday, quick turnaround for the Hounds as they're in Kindersley for that afternoon game, the hooky for hockey against the Kindersley Clippers. 12:30 start time. And then the Yorkton Terriers and Estevan Bruins meet for the very first time this season. Crazy to think about for the 2 Viterra division rivals. But those are the next couple of days here in the SJHL. But as I always do, going into the last week, guys, what are you looking at and what are you looking forward to this week before the holiday break?
Game of the month, baby.
I know, yeah. That's an easy one for us.
On SaskTel Friday. And us 3 doing the broadcast, Bamboo Shoots running it. It's always a fun time. Mm-hmm. And, it's the final weekend before the holiday break. I'm really excited for the game of the month. But also, the year is kind of broken down into 3 tiers of intensity.
Okay.
It's prior to Christmas, it's after Christmas, and it's playoffs. And the intensity in the league and the playoff race is going to kick up a notch when we come back in the new year. Just want to wish everyone a healthy, happy, and safe Merry Christmas and a safe New Year. It's always a blast doing this show. So 2 more exciting games here this weekend. One, the game of the month. The other one back home in Humboldt, where we get to go at it again, the Broncos and the Hounds. And then, just a Merry Christmas with everyone and their loved ones.
Yeah. Also, happy Hanukkah to anybody that celebrates that. That's going on right now, actually. And also, the Notre Dame Battlefords game tomorrow. Battlefords also has 10 days off, so it's not like Notre Dame has that advantage of rest.
Excellent.
But anyways, certainly the game of the month. The scriptwriters could not have picked better games of the month. Every game is going to be terrific. The rivalries, they picked them right. So good job. Make sure you tune in on SaskTel. Kindersley, Battleford. It's going to be spicy. If I had to pick a different one, just quickly, Nipawin and Melfort. That's always a good one.
Yeah, good call.
The proximity is close. Obviously, they're really really close to each other, under an hour's drive, obviously, and don't like each other very much. Sure, we're division rivals, so that should be a doozy. But it's game of the month, baby, as Rory said.
Yeah, that's a clean sweep over here. Game of the month. We're all very excited for it. One thing I'll say is, we are in the final week of the before the holiday break, and if you haven't noticed, knock on wood, the weather's been pretty favorable here in Saskatchewan. Yeah. So if you've been waiting, if you've been on the fence about going to an SJHL game this season, now is the perfect time ahead of the holidays. Lots of great rivalry games taking place this week, so be sure to get out to your local rink and support your local team this week ahead of the holidays, because a lot of great matchups coming up. Of course, we have to, if you want to stay up to date with everything in the SJHL this season, be sure to, of course, like us on Facebook, follow us on X, Instagram, TikTok. You know the drill. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, if you can't make it to the games, you can watch every game on Flow Hockey, but you're going to watch the SaskTel game of the month coming up this Friday if you're not in West Central Saskatchewan to catch the Clippers and the North Stars. 7:30 puck drop. Should be a great matchup. And, of course, a big thank you to all of our great sponsors here at the SJHL for helping us put on these shows each and every week. Of course, our presenting sponsor is UPL. Big shout-out to them. And, of course, all of our other great sponsors, Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Chevrolet, Great Western Nutrient, RBC Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thank you so much for your support. Without your support, these shows would not be possible. One more week of SJHL hockey before the holiday break, so get out to your local rink, support your local teams. It's going to be a great week, to say the least. For Jamie Neugebauer, for Rory McGouran, my name's Jeromy Corrigan. Thanks so much for tuning in this week to SJHL Weekly. Happy holidays, and enjoy the games this week, everyone.